Hello and welcome to the Metal Pack Pod, the industry's leading podcast for the global metal packaging market. The Metal Pack Pod is brought to you by the Metal Packager, the number one digital resource for the global metal packaging market. With over 7,000 monthly users in over 150 countries globally, be sure to check us out on metalpackager.com. I'm your host Alex Fordham, and in this episode we interview Lluís Miñarro, Can Tooling Segment Director at Hyperion Materials Technologies, about innovations in tooling materials for the metal packaging and can making industries. The discussion covers Hyperion's development of advanced carbide grades. We touch upon industry challenges like raw material supply constraints and Hyperion's global manufacturing expansion. The episode highlights Hyperion's commitment to R&D, customer collaboration, and delivering value-added solutions amid evolving market demands and supply chain complexities. But before we begin, we must give special mention to our sponsors, PPG Packaging Coatings. Their range of innovative and sustainable solutions help protect and beautify the world. Now on to today's show. Good afternoon, Lluís. How are you? It's been a pleasure. I've been looking forward to doing this podcast for a few months now, so it's great to be with you here in Dublin this afternoon. So first off, how's the Canmaker Summit been?
It has been very interesting. I mean, we have seen that this industry is moving. We have seen new things, and also the driver of the industry for sustainability and being more focused on circular economy. At all fronts. I've been very interested by using the same type of aluminum for ends and bodies. And then let's see how we, from the tooling, can support those evolutions.
Absolutely. We'll get onto the tooling side a little bit later on. I just want to touch upon something you mentioned there with regards to the industry. It seems to be a bit more positivity. I know the last couple of years has been tricky for the can making business, but it seems like certainly conversations I've had recently, the industry seems to be moving in the right direction. Is that something that Hyperion subscribes to, would you say?
We are seeing that indeed. I mean, unfortunately, tooling is so many times not considered as strategic. It is actually for the can makers. Mm-hmm. So we learn sometimes too late to respond to the demands of the can makers, but we are certainly seeing a new demand, especially on new plants, new lines from independent can makers, and also the big ones are coming back again.
That sounds positive. Is that from a global perspective, would you say, or is there any one region in particular that seems to be a little bit more vibrant than others?
I would say Europe, Middle East and Africa is leading that. We see some interesting growth as well in Southeast Asia. And then US so far flat. South America contradictory. The last numbers we got from the market is that the volumes drop in quarter three. And China is quite challenging. There is overcapacity. But we expect. I was in China 2 weeks ago, and I see some positive attitude about recovery on can demand from that. But very tender.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to press you on that. You just mentioned there positivity. Can you just perhaps elaborate there a little bit more detail?
Positivity in sense we are. For tooling, we have two types of orders. We have orders linked to normal consumption, to manufacture cans. You use the tools, they get worn, so you need to replace them. That's one type of orders. But also we have the orders linked to projects or linked to new lines, new plants, or new types of cans. So we are monitoring those two types of orders, and we are realizing that in the last 6 months, we see a recovery on the project-related demand. I mean, we always have a demand for the normal consumption, but we see a recovery on that area.
That seems really positive. That's something that we can touch upon a little bit later on. We've dived straight into the conversation. I just want to perhaps rewind a little bit for perhaps our listeners, because we're certainly the Metal Packager, we cover from raw material to end product, so you have to have a decent knowledge through the whole can making metal packaging process. Perhaps for our listeners who aren't quite as well acquainted with Hyperion, if you could provide just a brief overview about yourself as a company, that would be appreciated.
Well, Hyperion, we are experts in diamond and carbide. We are experts on materials, and we have we have what we call a couple of business units that we get very close to the final application. And one of those business units, it's can tooling. The purpose of that is that we must not only be experts on material, we must be experts on how the cans are made in order to elaborate a value proposal to the can maker that is going beyond the material itself. But we must know about metal forming, we must know about how the can is manufactured in order to elaborate a value proposition that is considering all the parameters that will help the can makers to be more efficient, to make lighter cans, and be at the end be more competitive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, thanks very much for that overview. It's always good with these interviews to get a little bit of background behind our guests as well. You've been in the industry for a fair while now, so just a little bit of background behind yourself. You can always sense when I'm interviewing someone whether they enjoy their job or kind of their passion about the industry. And you're certainly one of those individuals where you can sense you love what you do.
I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm a metallurgist by the University of Barcelona, and I joined a private-owned company in Barcelona in 1988 as a technician, fresh from the university. And this company then was acquired by Sandvik. So I have been a Sandvik employee for many years, till 2018 that Hyperion becomes an independent company outside the Sandvik group. My passion has always been being between the market, the customers, and our production, knowing what we can offer to the market based on our competences and what the market is needing to get. So being the interface between our capacity or competence or R&D and the market needs. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years, mainly on can tooling, but before I was also in other metal forming applications, but always in this area, between the market, production and engineering.
And it sounds like, certainly anyone I know within the industry, you travel probably one of the most extensively within the sector. Do you still enjoy that element of your profession, getting out of there and seeing obviously different cultures, different customers, customer facing? Is that a real joy for you? Do you enjoy that?
I enjoy being with people, and behind the business, behind the numbers, behind the technology, there is people. Yeah. And I'm enjoying the link with the people that it's supporting what we are doing. And I feel very satisfied when I see that we are bringing value, that the customers are enjoying, and we set up a win-win relationship. And I must say that in the last years, with many of our customers, Hyperion has been able to establish this win-win relationship.
That's great to hear. We'll get on to exciting new announcement with regards to the new DZ23, new carbide grade. Mm-hmm. I just want to touch upon one thing you said there about people doing business through people, and I think that's 100% correct. Just because you've been in the industry for so long, I was just interested about how the industry's evolved during your time. Is it still very much a case of that face-to-face interaction is invaluable with customers, or do you think things have changed, obviously, with new technology and AI automation? Some of those topics we'll get onto shortly. Others, perhaps we'll wait for another podcast another time. But just interested to see your perspective on how the industry's evolved and whether you still think that kind of customer-facing, face-to-face interaction is still as crucial as ever.
This is B2B. And in B2B, for me, it's a people business. So you must build trust between the companies. The customers must trust us supplying and responding to their demands, and we must trust also the customers to be our partners. And you can only, and trust is something that is built with people. I mean, you may have CRMs, you may have hard data, but what supports all that, it's the business. And something very important, I was just discussing, all the phases of the company must be focused on the customer. And the customers interact sometimes with R&D, with quality, with operations, and all those phases must transmit the trust. They must transmit that we are committed with them.
We interrupt this episode for a brief segment from our sponsors, PPG.
packaging coatings from PPG draw on our company's 140-year history of innovation. We never stop improving our solutions to meet the evolving needs of can makers and the marketplace. That spirit of innovation results in technology like the cradle-to-cradle platinum-rated PPG Innovel Pro. PPG Innovel Pro is the latest enhancement to the world's #1 non-BPA beverage can coating. It still doesn't use any bisphenol ingredients, but experienced can makers report that it now sprays like an epoxy. Follow PPG Packaging Coatings on LinkedIn or visit packagingcoatings.com to learn more about why PPG is the coatings partner for can making excellence.
Obviously, exciting new innovation with regards to the DZ23. If you could perhaps provide a bit of an overview about this exciting innovation, and then we can deep dive into that in a little bit more detail.
Well, we have been historically supplying finished tools, and then during the last 15 years, innovating, introducing to the can-making industry new carbide grades. I mean, as I told you, we are a carbide company. We develop carbide for many applications where we are looking many different properties. So one of the things we identified back 25 years ago when we started that, it was the carbide grades being used by this industry were very old-fashioned grades. Where we identified that this industry, so focused on efficiency and productivity, deserved to have the latest evolutions in carbide. So we started 20 years ago, we introduced some new grades in the rings, then with the punches that are playing a key role for the can makers. The punches, we identified that we can improve the wear resistance and the weight of the punch. So around more than 10 years ago, we introduced the DZ18. The DZ18 was 12% lighter than the standard grades, but what is important is when you reduce the weight of the carbide, you must be sure that the abrasion is not affected. So with DZ18, we improved the abrasion resistance because we were changing from medium grain size tungsten carbide to submicron tungsten carbide, and we added other type of carbide in order to reduce the weight. So that was the first step. To introduce new things in this industry takes time. So we started in Europe. In Europe has been very successful. Now it has been introduced 2 years ago in US, in Asia too. It's being started to be introduced. So DZ18 has become a kind of new benchmark on the market. I mean, we see other tool makers offering similar grades now. Okay, so that is something that being successful in the market today. But we realized that there was still gap to reduce more the density. But then, as I mentioned it, you cannot reduce the density to a point that you reduce the wear resistance. No? And then we start to make different prototypes of new grades, new alloys, to balance wear resistance and weight reduction.
In terms of performance, you for the DZ23, I read in the press release about 25% lighter than standard carbide grade. So how does that really translate in terms of real-world performance for can makers?
The cans are lighter and lighter. So when you are making the can, the top goal concentricity is key to have a low spoilage on the necker, and we have seen that there is an improvement of the top goal concentricity. And also, of course, we are still monitoring what is the result in terms of reduced consumption energy and maintenance of the body maker. And another parameter we have confirmed is that the wear on the rings is reduced, because in a way the punch is vibrating less in the body maker. You know, you are running at 300, 280, 290, 320 strokes per minute, being higher. So there is a difference on the dynamics when you are using material that is 25% lighter than the standard grade or 10% lighter than the DZ18. And that's a benefit for the maintenance of the body makers too.
Excellent. I'm always interested with these processes. how long it takes essentially to get this to market. Can you just perhaps provide a bit of context for me? As a media guy, it's always interesting to see. So how long from basically conception to getting this on the market?
It took years. Why? Because the first prototypes we did, we wanted to go too far on the density reduction, and it went so far that the wear of the punch was very high. The punch was weighing much more than the standard grade, so we had to gain back. So I would say that since we found the last composition and ran the test, it's a challenge to run tests in the market because the car makers are busy and they are not here to make tests for you. But we really appreciate the partnership with the Canmaker that helped us to run the test. And it took, I would say, around 1.5 years, 2 years since we got the final composition, ran the test, and decided to make the launch 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And you mentioned the launch 3 weeks ago. So you officially announced this at Asia Cantech. So within that time, the last 3 weeks, what's the feedback from the industry been like?
It has been interesting, very interesting, and especially because there in the market there are more and more plants having swing lines. I mean, the same line is making 211 cans, is making 204 cans, and sometimes they are making 209 cans. So the fact that you help them to reduce the setup time of the body maker by being able to use the same RAM for a 211 can than for a 204 can, it's very valuable. And now with the DZ23, that it's lighter, you can use two premium grades. You can use a DZ18 for the small can and DZ23 for the 211 can. And all of them using the 204 RAM. And this has been the point that has attracted more customers. And actually we have 3 or 4 companies running tests now for this with DZ23 for this.
Great to hear. This conversation so far, it seems like certainly a positive message. I think one note of caution, certainly I was reading recently with regards to APT. I know it's a critical material for tungsten carbide. I know there's been some issues there, so perhaps if you can provide a bit of context for our listeners, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a challenge. The fact that China has reduced the export licenses for APT. APT is ammonium paratungstate. That's the main raw material used by the carbide manufacturers to get the tungsten carbide. And then suddenly the price level almost 100% increase on the raw material.
Yeah.
And that is impacting the costs, but also you must secure the supply of tungsten. Then we are managing in a Hyperion both sides. I mean, historically, Hyperion has been having Western sources of raw material. Those Western sources are mainly using scrap, recycled carbide. But now, obviously, since there is this lack of APT from China, those prices have gone up because there is less carbide available. So we have so far secured our supply for 26 in Hyperion, but obviously we don't know what will happen in 2-3 months from now with the cost of the raw material.
In terms of prices essentially, say, doubling, does that mean the cost has to then get passed on to the consumer, or is there a little bit more nuance on that?
I mean, the raw material is doubling.
Okay.
But the impact on the tools, on the finished tools, is depends on the weight of tungsten carbide you have on each tool. I mean, the impact on a punch that is purely tungsten carbide, it's obviously higher than the impact you have in an ironing die or a reader die or a reader sleeve, where the percentage of carbide compared to the added value is lower. So we are as transparent as we can with the car makers. We want to work that out with them, together with them, be as transparent as possible with them, and then be ready for the challenges or changes that will come with this variation of the APT.
Okay, no, thanks for clarifying that. And just, we mentioned obviously exciting innovation with regards to product. There's also some good movement going on within Hyperion's organisation with a new production facility within the US. If we can conclude this conversation by just providing a bit of an overview about that. It seems like obviously exciting development, but I assume coordinating between the two facilities may come with its own challenges as well.
Yes, we have now 4 facilities manufacturing can tooling. I mean, we have what we call Global Competence Center based in Barcelona, but then we have 2 sites in the US, in Pennsylvania, La Trobe, and in Chicago. And then we have another tool shop in Brazil for the Brazilian market. The 2 manufacturing centers in the US are new, and those centers, we have built up their capacity to manufacture punches and making dies. We had a plan to manufacture rings there too, but you know what happened 3 years ago with the drop of demand. It had no sense to invest to build capacity because there was an important drop on demand. Now we are in the process to build up capacity in the US for rings too. We want to make sure that the service and the quality of the product is equivalent to the service and quality we are delivering today from Barcelona. We have had a good success supplying planches from Pennsylvania to the US market. I mean, the quality and the equipment they use at Pennsylvania, it's equivalent to the one we have in Barcelona. And the plant in Pennsylvania has an extremely high competence on grinding. So that has helped us to improve our competence on grinding and punches and on making dies as well. Now on making dies we have capacity in Barcelona, Pennsylvania and Chicago. So we have an important capacity to manufacture making dies, and I must say that the manufacturing process, the quality control process are equivalent on the 3 sites, and there is a coordination between the engineering groups and operations groups for the 3 sites.
Thanks for clarifying that, and certainly our conversation today, we've touched upon some really interesting issues, not least political consequences, new innovations, new technical facilities. So it's been a really in-depth conversation about kind of what's going on at Hyperion. So I really appreciate your time, and perhaps for our listeners who want to find out a little bit more, how can they get in touch with you?
We are very focused on punches. I mean, everybody, because punches is very expensive, but we think that other tools are commoditized, like the rings, and we believe that there are possibilities to offer innovation and offer longer life on the rings. It will take time, but that's something we believe that's a path to follow, innovate on the rings and be able to offer something that convert the ring in something that it's helping to improve productivity for the company.
That's excellent. So Lluís, it's been an interesting conversation. Really enjoyed your time, and look forward to catching up perhaps in a few months' time to see how things are developing. So appreciate it.